we invited our neighbor couple over for game night. They were fun. Until the wife pulled me aside and said, "If you're ever curious, we'd welcome you." I laughed. My husband didn't. Weeks later, I found messages on his phone: flirty, suggestive, plans. My hand shook. When I confronted him, he said, "We never did anything." But when I talked to their teen daughter at the grocery store, she looked me in the eye and said, "You deserve better than what I heard them planning." My husband Mark and I have been married for 14 years. We don't have kids. We've had our ups and downs, like most couples, but I thought we were solid. We live just outside Fort Collins, Colorado, in a nice neighborhood with big trees, quiet streets, and neighbors who mostly keep to themselves. I work part-time at a local dentist's office, and Mark is in IT. It's not a glamorous life, but it's ours. Then Jason and Melinda moved in 2 doors down. They came to one of the neighborhood block parties last fall. Melinda brought cookies, Jason brought beer, and they both seemed like fun, easygoing people. Melinda is one of those women who talks with her hands and leans in close when she laughs. Jason's more quiet but has that steady, confident look. They had a teenage daughter, Abby, I think, who didn't come out much. I figured she was just shy. Over the next few weeks, we ran into them more and more. Melinda waved when I walked the dog. Jason helped Mark shovel the driveway after a heavy snow. Eventually, we invited them over for a game night on a Saturday. I made nachos and spinach dip. We had a couple bottles of wine and some bourbon Mark had been saving. We played Cards Against Humanity and some trivia games. The kind of night where you laugh until your stomach hurts. It was one of the best nights we'd had in a while. Or so I thought. Late in the evening, while the guys were arguing over some dumb trivia answer, I went to the kitchen to get more snacks. Melinda followed me. She leaned against the fridge, sipping her wine, just staring at me like she was sizing me up. I thought maybe she was tipsy. Then she said it. "If you're ever curious, we'd welcome you." I blinked. "Welcome me?" She smiled in a way that didn't feel friendly. "You and Mark. We're open. It's just fun. No pressure." I laughed it off. I thought maybe it was a joke. Maybe she'd had too much wine. I said something like, "Oh wow, no thanks," and walked back to the living room. Later, when I told Mark what she said, I expected him to laugh with me. But he didn't. He shrugged. "That's weird," he said, and rolled over in bed. That was the first red flag. It was small, but it stuck with me. A couple of weeks passed. Life went on. I was working more hours because one of the other dental assistants was on maternity leave. Mark was busy too. I didn't see Melinda or Jason much, but I'd catch glimpses of them coming and going. Normal stuff. Then one morning, Mark left his phone on the kitchen counter while he was showering. It buzzed. Then again. The screen lit up with a message. It said Melinda Red Heart Fire with a preview that read, "Still thinking about you." My stomach dropped. I stood there, staring at the screen. I told myself not to look. But I did. There were messages going back weeks. Group chats with Mark, Jason, and Melinda. Flirty messages. Jokes about next time. Plans about when she's not home. There were emojis. Pictures I didn't want to see. My husband, my Mark, was in the middle of all of it. One message from Jason said, "She won't know if we're careful." And Mark replied, "We should plan it when she's working late again." I felt like I was going to throw up. I didn't even know what I was reading at first. It was like a punch to the face. I sat down at the kitchen table, phone still in hand, scrolling and scrolling. My hands were shaking. My eyes burned. I didn't say anything right away. I waited for him to get out of the shower. I waited for him to walk into the kitchen like everything was normal. Then I asked, "How long has this been going on?" He looked confused. "What?" I held up his phone. Melinda. Jason. The messages. He froze. Then he said the one thing cheaters always say. We never did anything. It was just talk. I don't even remember what I said after that. I think I laughed. Or cried. Maybe both. He kept repeating it. We didn't actually do anything. Like that made it okay. I didn't know what to do. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want the drama. I needed time to think. So I started taking longer walks. I'd wander around the grocery store just to avoid going home. Then, one afternoon, I ran into their daughter, Abby, at the Safeway near our house. She was in the freezer section, hoodie up, earbuds in. I almost didn't recognize her. I nodded and smiled, ready to keep walking. But she took one earbud out and stopped me. Hey, she said. I paused. Hi. She looked at me for a second. Then she said, really quietly, you deserve better than what I heard them planning. I stared at her. What? She shook her head. They talk like I'm not even there. But I hear everything. I just thought you should know. Then she turned and walked away. I stood there, frozen. I don't even remember leaving the store. My ears were ringing. My heart felt like it was trying to crawl out of my chest. She had no reason to lie. And she didn't say it like a teenager trying to stir the pot. She said it like someone who knew how bad it was and felt sorry for me. That was the moment I knew for sure something had already happened. And I was done pretending it hadn't. After what Abby told me, I didn't sleep for 2 nights straight. I kept replaying her words over and over. You deserve better than what I heard them planning. I couldn't get the look in her eyes out of my head. She wasn't being dramatic. She wasn't joking. She was trying to warn me. And I realized something else. She must have overheard more than just a flirty conversation. She used the word planning. So I started thinking. If this had been going on for weeks, maybe months, how far had it gone? How many times had Mark lied to my face while telling me everything was fine? Was it just flirting? Or something worse? I needed answers. But I didn't trust him to give them. So I started digging. I checked our phone bill. I found dozens of calls and texts between Mark and Melinda. Most during the day when I was at work, and a few late at night when I was already asleep. I remembered one night back in March. I had come home from a late shift. Mark said he'd fallen asleep early. But the call log said he was on the phone with Melinda for 38 minutes around 11:30 p.m. I also checked our Ring camera history. Mark had turned off the motion alerts for a few evenings in the last month. I never noticed because he said the alerts were annoying. But now I saw one clip, just one, where Jason walked up to our house around 9 p.m., stayed for 10 minutes, then left. I confronted Mark again. This time, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just asked, why was Jason at our house at 9 p.m. while I was working? Mark turned pale. I told you. We didn't do anything. You didn't answer my question. He swallowed hard and said, he just came by to talk. That's not what Abby said. His eyes widened. You talked to her? She found me. At Safeway. She told me I deserve better. Mark looked away. She's a kid. She probably misunderstood something. I didn't say anything. I just stared at him until he got uncomfortable and walked out of the room. That night, I didn't sleep again. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I waited until I saw Melinda outside watering her front plants. I walked over. Calm. Steady. She smiled when she saw me. Hey, you okay? I know about the messages, I said. And I know about Jason coming over when I wasn't home. She blinked. Her smile dropped. I think you're misunderstanding, don't lie to me. Your daughter told me everything. That made her flinch. She stepped back like I'd hit her. Abby? I nodded. She heard what you and Jason were planning. She told me I deserve better. Melinda opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes darted to her house, then back to me. Listen, she said, voice low, we thought Mark was on the same page. He told us you two had talked about it. My heart dropped. Talked about what? She hesitated. Being open. He said you'd considered it. I almost laughed. We never even discussed it. Melinda's face changed. She looked genuinely surprised. He said you wanted to try new things. That you were bored. I stepped back. I could feel my hands shaking again. I turned and walked away without another word. Back at home, I sat on the couch and stared at the wall. Everything was falling into place. Mark hadn't just flirted. He hadn't just talked. He had planned. Lied to me. Lied to them. And somehow made me look like I was in on it. I was done waiting for the truth. That night, I messaged Abby. I thanked her for being honest. Then I asked her something I didn't want to ask. Did anything actually happen between them? Or was it just talk? She replied about an hour later. The message was short. I'm sorry. I think they did something. A few weeks ago. I heard them talking about a night when you worked late. I wasn't supposed to be home. They thought I stayed at a friend's. I didn't. I heard everything. My mom said it finally happened and they joked about how clueless Mark was the whole time. I think your husband doesn't know what they really did. I stared at my phone for a long time. Everything I thought I knew collapsed right then. They didn't just flirt with my husband. They used him. They planned something without him. And they tricked him into going along with it. They betrayed him, and he betrayed me. And no one was telling the truth. I wasn't just dealing with cheating anymore. I was caught in the middle of something worse. After Abby's message, I sat alone in our kitchen with the lights off. It was quiet, but I couldn't think straight. I felt like I was spinning. My heart was racing, my thoughts bouncing between anger and confusion. Mark lied. Melinda lied. Jason used all of us. And Abby was the only one who told the truth. I knew I had to do something. But I didn't want to scream or throw things. I wanted to be smart. Precise. I wanted to catch every lie they told and make them all sit in the mess they made. So I started planning. First, I bought a cheap prepaid phone. Something I could use without Mark noticing. Then I made a new email account and signed up for a free background check service. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I figured Jason and Melinda had secrets. People like them always do. That night, while Mark was watching TV downstairs, I went into the guest room and pulled out our old external hard drive. Mark used to back up his computer onto it. I hadn't touched it in over a year. I plugged it into my laptop and started searching. I found a folder named Work Files. But inside were subfolders with names like Meetings and Training. One of them had video files. I clicked on one. It was our living room. From the angle of the shot, it looked like it was taken from a laptop camera, probably Mark's. The video showed him, Jason, and Melinda sitting on the couch. Jason had a glass of whiskey in his hand. Melinda was laughing, too close to Mark. They were talking low, the sound muffled, but I could still hear parts of it. Melinda, she's not going to know. This is between us. Jason, he's nervous. Look at him. Mark, I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't do this. Melinda leaned in and whispered something I couldn't hear. Mark laughed. Then he kissed her. I slammed the laptop shut. It wasn't just messages. It wasn't just flirting. It happened. Right there, in our house. While I was at work. but it got worse. The next day, I got an email back from the background check service. I almost didn't open it. Jason had a record. 2 sealed charges from Texas. One labeled misconduct and the other domestic disturbance. I didn't know the details, but I knew what that meant. Melinda had nothing on paper, but I didn't trust her any more than him. And then I remembered something. At the last neighborhood meeting, Melinda made a comment about knowing the HOA president very well. She said it like a joke, but now it clicked. She'd been bragging. Trying to show off. She was always trying to pull strings. Always smiling too wide. Too friendly with the right people. I started talking to neighbors. Quietly. Carefully. I found out more than I expected. Jason had hit on someone's wife at a cookout a year ago. She told her husband, who confronted Jason. Things got heated, but the husband let it go because Melinda apologized and said Jason was drunk. Another neighbor, Anna, told me Melinda once tried to get her and her husband to join them for drinks in a way that made her uncomfortable. She said it felt more like an invitation to something else. This wasn't new. They'd done it before. They'd tested boundaries with other couples. We just happened to be the ones who took the bait. But the twist came the next weekend. I was walking my dog when Abby pulled up in her car and parked in front of our house. She got out, looked around, and said, "Can I come in? Just for a minute?" I nodded and let her in. We sat in the kitchen. She was quiet at first, playing with the sleeve of her hoodie. Then she said, "They don't know I know. But I heard them talking about you again." I leaned in. "What did they say?" "They're planning to say you came on to them. That you tried to start something. That Mark found out and freaked out. They think if they flip the story first, no one will believe you." I sat back, stunned. "Why?" "Because my mom's afraid you'll go public. She thinks you'll tell people. Or go to her boss." "She works for a local mortgage company, right?" I nodded slowly. I didn't even know where Melinda worked. Abby pulled something out of her hoodie pocket. It was a flash drive. I recorded them. A few times. When they were talking in the kitchen and thought I was asleep. My eyes filled with tears. "Why would you do that?" She shrugged. "I used to think they were just weird. But after what I heard, I didn't want them to hurt you." I took the flash drive from her hand like it was gold. Abby left soon after. I promised I wouldn't tell them where I got the recordings. I spent that night listening. Melinda, she's too quiet. I don't trust her. Jason, if she says anything, we'll just say she was jealous. Or that she tried something and it didn't go well. Melinda, if we get ahead of it, no one will believe her anyway. That was it. That was the moment I decided I wasn't going to just leave. I was going to fight back. But first, I had to make sure they wouldn't see it coming. I spent the next 2 weeks pretending nothing had changed. I smiled at Mark. I made dinner. I laughed at his dumb jokes. I even waved at Melinda when I passed her house. I played the part of the clueless wife so well, I almost believed it myself. But behind the scenes, I was gathering every piece of evidence. The messages from Mark's phone. The video from the hard drive. The audio Abby gave me. I made copies. Printed transcripts. Labeled everything. I wanted every sick word they said on paper. Then I called a divorce lawyer. Not just any lawyer. I found one with a reputation for being ruthless, especially in cases of infidelity. Her name was Connie Glass, and she didn't waste time. She told me exactly what I needed to do to make sure the divorce left him with nothing but a memory of what he lost. We worked fast. I opened a new bank account. Transferred half of our joint savings, my legal right. Froze the credit cards. Collected every document I needed, tax forms, titles, deeds. I got the house appraised, took inventory of all the valuables. Connie told me when to file and when to serve him. And then I did one more thing. I scheduled a neighborhood appreciation barbecue in our backyard. I invited everyone, including Jason and Melinda. Mark thought I was trying to smooth things over. He had no idea I was about to blow his entire life up in front of an audience. The day of the barbecue was warm and sunny. Everyone came. Lawn chairs, music, burgers on the grill. People drank beer and talked about summer plans. Jason and Melinda showed up late, as usual. Mark acted like everything was fine. He even grilled. Halfway through, I tapped a spoon against my glass. People turned. I said I had something to say, just a quick thank you for being great neighbors. Then I hit play on the speaker. Melinda's voice echoed across the yard, we just say she started it. We flip the story. Mark will back us up if we act fast. The yard went silent. Then Jason's voice. She won't know if we're careful. She's just some bored housewife. Gasps. Whispers. Melinda froze. Jason looked like he wanted to run. Mark dropped the spatula. Then I said, loud and clear, for those wondering, that's what my husband and our lovely neighbors have been up to behind my back. Planning how to lie, cheat, and cover it all up. In my house. In my marriage. I turned to Mark. We're done. I've filed. The lawyer will be in touch. I turned to the crowd. And for those who've heard rumors, here's the truth. I have recordings, texts, and video. I'm not the one who should be ashamed. I walked into the house and closed the door behind me. Mark came in minutes later, pale and sweating. What did you do? I looked him dead in the eyes. I gave them what they deserved. And you too. He tried to talk. Begged, pleaded. Said it was a mistake. That they tricked him. That he loved me. I said nothing. I just handed him an envelope with the divorce papers. 2 weeks later, word got around that Melinda was fired. Someone sent an anonymous package to her HR department, with transcripts of her planning to frame another woman and seduce a married man. It wasn't me. Maybe Abby. Maybe Karma. Jason? Rumor was he tried to get a new job in town, but no one would touch him. Too much talk. Too much stink. Abby moved in with her aunt. She stopped by once, gave me a hug, and said, "You did what nobody else ever could." Mark? He lives in a one-bedroom rental now. I kept the house. The car. Half the money. He sends awkward texts sometimes. I don't reply. As for me? I'm still here. Still standing. A little stronger. A little colder. But a hell of a lot wiser. Because game night wasn't just a party. It was the beginning of a war. And I won.